welcome to another video from Digital Spy. This time, we're diving into Netflix's The Umbrella Academy, a show which revolves around a group of superpowered adoptive siblings who have had to deal with not one, but two apocalypses across its two-season run. It really is just another day at the office for the Hargreaves siblings. Now, there were some big questions left hanging at the end of the latest chapter, so if you're ready, we're going to delve into The Umbrella Academy Season 2's biggest mysteries. Now, after finally making it back home to 2019, the Hargreaves siblings were told by Reginald, ever the bearer of fantastic news, that the Umbrella Academy doesn't exist and instead they're standing in the Sparrow Academy. And to add insult to injury, a man who looks like Ben but clearly isn't Ben calls them all assholes. What a welcome. But what are their superpowers? And are they going to be out and out enemies? Or will the story be more complicated than that? The comic's co-writer, Gerard Way, has said that Volume 4, which isn't out yet, is going to be called Sparrow Academy. So we should get all of the answers to our burning questions in that. But if you have read the comics, you'll know that the Sparrow Academy has already been introduced. At the end of Hotel Oblivion, a new superpower group is thrown into the mix when it looks like the Umbrella Academy is about to be defeated by the villains who have escaped from Hotel Oblivion. They're all dressed in red and they all have Sparrow emblems on their chest. Plus, that floating cube is also there as well, the very one that we see at the end of Season 2. Now, speaking of that floating cube, could it be Harland? We know that Sissy's son still has his powers because when the pair were driving to California at the end of Season 2, we see him playing with a little wooden bird, which could or could not be a sparrow. And by playing, we mean making it float in the palm of his hand. Is Harland going to return? It seems highly unlikely that the show would want us to know that he still has these superhuman capabilities if he wasn't going to play a role in future. One of the biggest bombshells in Season 2 was the reveal that she has powers. She did a runner after the handler was killed by the last remaining member of the IKEA mafia, and nobody knows where she is or what her next move will be. Leah could be anywhere or anywhen, past, present or future, but will she return? Our spidey senses are telling us yes. And will she be a friend or a foe to the Umbrella Academy? Will Diego and Leah finally get their happy ending? So many questions. She looked pretty dead to us when she was gunned down by the last remaining Swede, but she has survived a bullet to the head before. If there's anyone who can get themselves out of this pickle, it's her. Plus, Kate Walsh's character is one of the best parts about the show, not to mention those fabulous outfits. We have a feeling she'll be back. Now, it's popped up in both seasons of the show. In the first, Luther lived there for a bit. He was collecting data, which was ultimately useless. But the moon itself is not as useless in this story as we initially thought. In Season 2, one of the Majestic 12 mentions Reginald's interests on the dark side of the moon. But what are those interests? We know that he's an alien after he removes his human disguise, so clearly he has a life that extends beyond planet Earth. But what is his overarching aim? And how do all these superpowered children fit into those plans? Now, the Grace that we meet in Season 1 is not the same as the Grace that we meet in Season 2. When she's first introduced, she's a robot. But in the latest chapter, she's a real flesh and blood woman who is dating Reginald. She confronts Reg about his work and asks him if he plans to hurt the president. But he doesn't answer her question or tell her what his agenda is, and she walks away. That is the last that we see of her. But will we meet her again in Season 3, and will she be a woman or a robot or something else entirely? Does Grace even exist in this new timeline? And while we're on that subject, how many timelines are there? So, deep breath. There's a timeline where Vanya blows up the moon and the world is blitzed to a pulp, but Five safely transports himself and his siblings to the 1960s, where they're greeted by another apocalypse caused by Vanya again, which they all safely manage in the end. But they lose Ben along the way, who finally decides to walk into the light. Then they travelled back to 2019, but it's not the 2019 they remember because the Umbrella Academy, as we've previously discussed, doesn't exist, but the Sparrow Academy does. Whew, so that's 3 straight off the bat, and we're guessing that's not the last time that the story will play with, well, time. What about all of the other babies born on October 1st? Now we know that 43 women gave birth on that day in 1989, which means there are a bunch of other superpower people out there who we haven't met yet. But will we come face to face with them in season 3? Does Reginald know where they are? And what does their existence mean for the future of the Umbrella Academy? Will Alison and Luther have the talk? Now, the Hargreaves aren't biological siblings, but they did grow up together as a family, which makes the relationship between Alison and Luther pretty weird. There's only been one person for Luther, and that's Alison. Meanwhile, she's had 2 other relationships, one with Claire's father and one with Raymond Chestnut, who we meet in season 2. It just feels like they're on wildly different pages. But will that all resolve itself in season 3? You'll have to wait and see. And that's your lot. Loads of food for thought before season 3 arrives. Now, we'd love to hear what you thought of the Umbrella Academy Season 2. Don't forget to let us know in the comments below. Or if you have any theories or thoughts about Season 3, share those as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe for plenty more from Digital Spy.